The San Francisco 49ers traveling to SoFi Stadium. It's essentially the playoffs for those 49ers in Week 18. A very special guest today to help us break this thing down from Week 17 to Week 18 and the Locked On 49ers mailbag coming up right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers Wednesday edition, Tuesday evening. If you are watching us on YouTube, hello to everybody. Thanks for making us your first listen every day right here on Locked On 49ers. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend about Locked On 49ers, all the thumbs ups and the bells and all the other things you can click. Feel free to click on those as well. But you know what? It's time on this Wednesday, Winky Wednesday episode to bring on today's guest.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
Wink, how you feeling? Feeling a little bit better this week after the holidays and after a new year and getting cleansed by a calendar turning over and the 49ers winning behind the power of their rookie quarterback in Trey Lance. You got to be feeling a little bit better about those 49ers right now than you did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and their rookie running back, too. It's nice to get Elijah Mitchell back. I mean, you could just see the difference when he runs the football. And when he's out on the field, he is a playmaker. He is, as trusted a back for these 49ers that they've had since Gore left. It's been really good to have him back. Trey Lance looked, you could tell they're really cautious there in the first half and really opened it up in the second half. And it looks great. And, whoever's starting under quarterback for the 49ers, come Sunday against the Rams, I feel confident that they're going to take care of business.
So the Philadelphia Eagles clinched a playoff berth. So there's only one open spot now in the NFC. There's a lot of seeding that could move around in Week 18, but we know who 6 out of the 7 teams are. It's the Packers.
That's still wild to me. That's still wild to me that a team, you beat the team, y'all have the same record, but they're able to clinch. I get it, the whole conference thing, and it's 49ers' fault, but God, it bothers me. It bothers me a little bit.
It is odd. It is odd that the 49ers would own the tiebreaker over the Philadelphia Eagles, but if the New Orleans Saints are involved, then the Niners would be out if it is a 3-way tie. So it's very simple for the 49ers. They win, they're in. If the New Orleans Saints lose, the 49ers are in. The Saints need the 49ers to lose, and the Saints need to win. And a tie is even good, too, for the 49ers. You tie, you're right. So that's what it takes for the San Francisco 49ers. 9.5 wins to get in the NFC. If they do win, they will also have the 6th seed, and they have that tiebreaker over the Eagles, whether they win or not, and we'll have the 6th seed, and the Eagles will be the 7th seed. So right now it's just a question of will the Eagles be the 6 or the 7, and will the 6 or the 7 be, or will the 6 be the Niners, or will the 7 be the Saints? And
what's crazy, too, when you start looking at it is it going to be back-to-back? The Niners win. Is it going to be back-to-back games at SoFi Stadium?
So how about this? So that could be one of the possibilities. So the 49ers, if they're the 6th seed, they'll play the 3 seed. Right now, the 3 seed Tampa Bay Bucks. And you never want to ask to be playing against Tom Brady, but the Bucks might be the team you want to play right now with what they're going through. They're not looking great. Although the way the Rams are throwing the football to the wrong team right now, there's flaws in all of these football teams. And if the Rams are going to be playing for something, there's none of this rest your starters stuff. The Rams are trying to win the West, and so they want to beat the 49ers in Week 18. But that's crazy. You bring that up, Wink, about SoFi. So the 49ers going down to L.A. By the way, this is going to be a red takeover, right? Because those L.A. games have been home games for a long time for the 49ers. The preseason game against the Chargers was all red pretty much. And look, the Chargers have always had a tough time, even when they were in San Diego. Away teams traveled well, and in LA, there's just fans of all the teams. And we've talked on this show and joked with Croc about him being a Lakers fan. There's a ton of LA 49ers fans out there. There's a lot of them. So
I'll be out there.
Yeah, Croc's going to be there himself.
Nice.
So the Eric Crocker in the seats. It's going to
also
be
real quick, John Chapman. John Chapman has the 49ers Rush podcast, and he has an event on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Go to my page. It's my pinned tweet, and you'll see the event that's going on out there in the Los Angeles area. So, we're going to be out there, man, having a good time.
Yeah, have a drink with Crocky. Don't get him too drunk because I need him to be somewhat sober to be doing a remote check-in from SoFi Stadium after a 49ers win and the 49ers getting into the playoffs Sunday. But at Eric_Crocker is where you can find that pinned tweet for some of that information. 49ers takeover in SoFi would be nice, but that's crazy. So the 49ers could play the Rams, and depending on how seedings go, and look, if the Rams lose, that makes it even more likely because they could drop down to the 3 seed instead of the 2 seed. The Niners could go right back, and I don't know if they would come back and fly back or just practice there. I don't know how that would work, but they would play the Rams in the wild card weekend the very next week in the very same stadium, SoFi. But that could be only 1 and 2 of 3 football games for the 49ers in SoFi when they reach Super Bowl 56. Are we on 56? Is that the right number? Yeah, Super Bowl 56. Also at SoFi Stadium. Why not? Just just rent an apartment for a couple months in LA and 3 games in SoFi Stadium. How about that?
Faithful's going to show up on Sunday. You just know it.
Absolutely. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be. We'll probably get some more clarification later Wednesday. Maybe not even until look, it helps the 49ers for the Rams not to know. So I fully expect to be in the dark about situation. Even if the 49ers already know, they might already know that Jimmy's thumb. Game time, I think, with the 49ers and their quarterback situation. But Wink, how did you feel about the rookie Trey Lance and how he played? You feel comfortable that the rookie could go into somebody else's house and go win what is essentially a playoff game for the 49ers Sunday?
Yeah. I mean, you saw what he did in Arizona. It wasn't great. He went on the road, but that was a winnable game as well. And now he has a win under his belt. Yes, it was at home, but you love the progression. From the start of the he looked a little skittish, a little excited. He throws the ball a little hard, which is great. You want somebody with some zip on his fastball there. And, you got to like it. You saw him get more and more comfortable in the pocket. You saw him, some design runs, sometimes where he just made an extra, got himself a little extra time, moved around in the pocket, made some plays. It's stuff you don't see Jimmy do a whole lot of. So you gotta feel confident. And that's the reason they went out and got, a guy like Trey Lance is that extra playmaking ability. But you feel confident, even if they put Jimmy back in there. I mean, Jimmy's done it all year long, and he's done it since he's been a 49er. He's done nothing. I mean, he's lost a little bit, but the majority of his games he's won. And Trey Lance is now 1-1 as a starter. And if he's got to go on Sunday, you got to like it.
I want to go to the mailbag really quick. You mentioned the zip on Trey Lance's fastball, and Mike says, one thing I noticed that was different about Trey Lance that I haven't heard mentioned was that previously his throws were all 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. This game, he had much more touch.
Especially in the second half.
Yeah, thanks for listening, Mike. And yeah, he could have used a little bit more touch and feathered that one into George Kittle a little bit. He was trying to hit that whole shot, and he said after the game that he recognized it was cover 2, and he stared it down the whole way, so he saw it. And he didn't even give an opportunity to maybe peek the other way and see Ayuk in the middle of the field or see Debo breaking open on the post. He was eyeing the throwback the whole way, the Y leak, whatever you want to call it there with George Kittle, and there was room to throw it. But if he doesn't stare it down, the corner maybe isn't as deep underneath him, and the safety maybe isn't as far open. It would just give him a bigger, wider window when he does turn because he knows he's going there. And then also he would have seen maybe something else that he liked even better breaking open. But, rookie mistakes, and he missed the throw. So it was
JT O'Sullivan touched on that play on his breakdown. He did a breakdown of Trey Lance's performance on his QB school. And one thing he mentioned is in that play action, you have to boot out a little bit more to the right and take your eyes to the opposite way. He never did. He booted out. I mean, he didn't even really boot out. It was like play action, and he dropped straight back and then eyed it down the whole time. So those are things that he's going to have to learn. I am curious if he did do what JT told him to do, which was boot out bigger, look it off, basically like look to your right, knowing you want to throw to your left. But if you look to your right and you see Debo screaming up the field wide open, maybe just say, forget what the play call is. I'm going to Debo Samuel. That could be something you saw. But again, we know the play design for the tight end league is typically open. That was actually the first time that they've ran it against cover 2. Someone showed a chart, and it shows all the times they've run it since like 2017 or something like that. And that was the first time it's been ran against cover 2. So he probably wasn't even aware of kind of how to throw it. But the corner he sunk the whole time. The corner never even acknowledged anything else that might be flat. So it was really never open unless maybe he looked it off.
Yeah, and there was space to throw it over the top because there was a safety in the middle of the field, or a safety kind of on that hash, but there was plenty of room if he threw it over the top of that corner that was sinking down underneath. But it would have been a tough throw, and he made a bad throw. So he could have thrown a little bit more touch on
and
that.
And he said that. I don't know did y'all hear his comments on it?
I did mention, I did hear him say that he said he short-armed it, I think is what his
he was like, I short-armed it, bad throw,
it would have been a better pass. That's the other things. And he might even have thrown it to Debo or Ayuk first before Debo broke open, because he was open. Like, everybody was open on that play. Right. And it turns out to be an interception, which is tough. So you go back and watch the film on that. It's like, I could have done anything, make a better throw here, or look here. He was open in the middle of the field, crossing this way. He's open, crossing over that way. So rookie mistakes, but overall he overcame it and made some nice throws. I think the more you see and go back, you realize some of the special things that he can do with his arm. And by the way, JT O'Sullivan's breakdowns are always fantastic on the QB School. One of the other things he brought up, which we're going to get to next, is a question about maybe some wobbly throws, and maybe everything doesn't come out super clean from Trey Lance's hands. Well, there's a lot of questions about Trey Lance. We'll talk a lot about Trey Lance, I'm sure, in upcoming episodes, as we will today. Talk a little bit more about this matchup in Week 18 with the Rams, and tons of other questions on this episode of Locked On 49ers. But I want to let the listeners know about a very special treat that you can eat, and it can help with your diet. It can help with your New Year's resolutions. It can help with your appetite. It can help really with anything that you want to get done in your day. You want to spend less time at lunch, grab yourself a Built Bar. It's that time of year, right? New Year's resolutions. You can feel good about what you're eating because it's healthy, keeps you satisfied, and it will not wreck your diet. Most Built Bars contain only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar, with only 4 net carbs and a whopping 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that you might grab if you wanted a snack that has around 240 calories, a whopping 30 grams of sugar in a candy bar. It'll get you. You don't want to do that. Find a Built Bar. And actually, how about this? Listen to one of our listeners, Tim, who wrote to me on Twitter. He said, at BD Peacock, had my first Built Bar this morning. Not going to lie, probably the best protein bar I've ever had. I would not steer you guys wrong. Go find yourself some Built Bars at Built.com. You're not sure what flavor you want to get a mixed box. Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order as well. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, gentlemen, a question here. And Croc, I'm sure you went over this on your QB Monday, right? On Croc Talk TV. Greg asked the questions, why do a lot of Lance's throws just look bad, AKA wobbly? And this is something that's happened. And I don't know if it's all mechanics. I don't know if this is just the way he's going to throw. I know there's been some accuracy issues even from college. And maybe it's, even though he's got a power arm, it's not the cleanest delivery and the cleanest spiral all the time. But as JT O'Sullivan pointed out in his film room episode on YouTube, is even the throw to corner of the end zone. Yeah, it was wobbly, but it was right where it needed to be. And so maybe wobbly, but does he connect on the passes? Can he still get it there, even if it's not a perfect spiral? And I think the answer to those is yes, right? But what did your guy Greg Pinelli have to say about his delivery, maybe a work in progress with how the ball comes out of his hand?
Yeah, Greg had a lot to say about that. He was at the game watching live. So when he came on Monday morning, he had some good insight. And he was like, about 30 to 40% of his passes came out a little funny. And he said some of that can be from just being a little amped up, gripping the ball just a little too tight, and being a little too tense when going to throw. He also touched on a little bit about like some stuff I don't know nothing about, turning your wrist over. He said you could see him doing that on a deep ball that got the pass interference call. He said after he threw the ball, you could see him kind of going through the motion. So he's still kind of working through some of his mechanics and whatever they're trying to change. He said he doesn't have an issue throwing a spiral just in general. If you just watch him warm up and you watch him throw the ball, there is no flutter. It's a tight spiral. But when he's going to throw, maybe there's just he's not as comfortable yet. So he's like gripping it and he's just like throwing it. And that's leading to having a little wobble. He compared it to baseball, like a hitter. And he said, it's like somebody playing baseball. And if you try to hit a home run, you're going to really tense up. He said most coaches will tell you when you go to hit a home run, have a natural swing. And sometimes it just comes off that bat sweet. You hit that sweet spot and it just carries. He says a lot like that with throwing the football as well. Some people just naturally just don't ever tense up. But he said a lot of times you will kind of see it with rookies because they're so excited with everything kind of going on.
And, there's some footwork stuff. I think JT O'Sullivan pointed out some of those things. And there's just, stuff that a rookie quarterback entering the NFL is going to continue to work on. But most of those types of things, when you're talking about throwing motion and footwork and major things like that, that's not stuff that you tinker with week to week. That's an off-season thing. And he'll come back, and I'm sure he'll look a little bit different. And you look at Aaron Rodgers when he came out of Cal and he held the ball up here. Tedford taught him to be all rigid with it. And now he holds it as low as anybody. He's down a lot. He's so loose and relaxed, and he's got the ball down around his waist. So that stuff will change over time. But I don't know if you should ever expect to draft a quarterback and say, oh, this guy's awesome, except for I'm going to completely change the way he throws the ball. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. You have to like how he throws from the start.
And Greg also said that's not something you want to really tinker with too much throughout the season because you don't want him focused on, I threw it this way. Now, the next time I go to throw, okay, I need to throw it that way. And then now he's inconsistent with how he's throwing and he's thinking too much about just how he's throwing the ball. So he said, let him throw, let him rip, let him get comfortable, and then focus on those things throughout the offseason.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Allen last week on the show with me, and you talked about how when he first came in the league, he was really, not accurate at all, and he worked on it and he got better and better. Well, this last Sunday, he threw 3 interceptions in 4 passes, and when you look at those balls, they were ugly. They were flutterers, and it's like, was he tensing up? Was he falling back into these old mechanics? But he still came back and won the game. So it's like with Lance, same thing. He threw some balls that were maybe questionable, didn't look great, but he did enough to get it done, and you just hope that he continues to progress just like Josh Allen did. And yeah, you'll take a step back every once in a while, but as long as he takes 2 forward before that one back, you're stoked.
Yeah, and it's got to become second nature too, because you can't think your way through mechanics like that, because you're just going to fall back into whatever's natural. So you got to just pound it into your brain over and over and over and over for your entire career, really. But big strides can't really be made until the offseason on that front. I want to go to Raymond on the subject of those Rams. He says, are they going to flex our game to Sunday Night Football? They owe us a prime time game. And no, they are not. There's and I understand the game they are putting in prime time is Chargers and Raiders, because that is a win and you're in situation, just like the 49ers, but it's both teams in the division, same record. One team wins, they're in the playoffs. The other team loses, they're probably not in the playoffs unless maybe they get a lot of help. There's some more difficult tiebreakers there for the AFC right now than there are for the NFC. The NFC picture is much clearer at this point, but the 49ers are not going to be flexed. Maybe Saturday. I wonder if they asked the 49ers if they wanted to flex to Saturday, and they said no because of Jimmy's thumb and they want more time.
That makes sense. I don't know if they do that, though. They're probably just like, no, this is when you're playing.
They do owe the Niners a prime timer, so they got to make it up to them next year, at least, if they don't do it, since they can't do it this year.
And they took off the game that was like the game of the year, even though it wasn't.
Rams game too.
The 49ers didn't win.
So that would have been perfect if it was this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was the Rams game, right? They got flexed out?
Seahawks.
Was it the Seahawks?
Seahawks.
Oh, it was Seahawks. That's right. Yeah, okay.
And it was like the wildest game. Everybody's like, what the hell is going on? You had the fake punt for a touchdown. You had all kind of weird things happen in that game.
It's amazing how a season goes. And sometimes that seems like it was years ago, that Seahawks game. Now you remind me, I was like, oh, that was nuts. That was insane. Everything crazy happened in that game that could possibly happen in a football game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where are we at here? Raymond also asked this question. This is an easy one for me. I'm going to let you guys answer it first. If you had to choose between T.O. in his prime or Debo, who would you choose?
No, it's not even close.
It's not close, right?
It's T.O. I mean, you're talking about one of the best wide receivers of all time.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
And his run after catch was just as good as Debo's, if not better. I mean,
if not better, exactly.
I watched him. I remember this one play he had against Champ Bailey where he like caught a 5-yard stop, threw Champ Bailey to the side, and then just took off down the sideline and outran everybody. Like Terrell Owens, I get the antics and calling Jeff Garcia, different things and all that, but dude is, he's the second best receiver. You could say Randy Moss, you could throw him in there.
Top 5 easily.
It's a short list. Yeah, it's a short list of receivers you would take over him ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was amazing.
And he did it for a long time. Yeah. Different teams, different quarterbacks.
Every team. Didn't matter.
Bad quarterbacks. That guy was an absolute monster. And he was
on a broken leg.
He was almost as big as George Kittle, too.
Yeah.
And he could move the way he did. That some of those wide receivers back then, might have been some extra help going on from the pharmacy.
No, but T.O. still looks the same.
That's true.
Just a monster. It's crazy how big some of those receivers were in the early 2000s.
That's the Balco days.
David Boston.
There were a lot of guys coming out that were top picks, and they were big guys. The Mike Williams, the Roy Williams, the Reggie Williams. Not Boston. Yeah, he was.
That guy was huge.
We know what he was doing.
That was because he stopped being good. He got so big that he couldn't even be
right. Can't even play tight end.
Were pretty darn freaky. But and Debo's really still only done. To be honest with you, Debo's value goes down the more he becomes a running back.
Yep.
To me, it's valuable that he can do that, but when he's getting 7 carries and 3 targets in a game, that's less valuable than when he's getting 10 or 11 wide receiver.
Do you think that's by accident?
No. Kyle wants to win games more than anything, and he loves the running game. That's what it is. They're not trying to save money in the offseason, although it might end up saving money because
it will.
Instead of having 1,800 receiving yards, he's going to have 500 rushing yards and 1,300 receiving yards or something like that.
It started out of necessity. They needed some running backs that could actually do something due to injuries, and he does something almost every time he touches the ball, so it makes sense.
I don't like the fact that there's games. I think it was like the Jaguars game where he has like 9 carries, with like 1 reception. It's like, come on, man, what are you doing?
Especially when he's carrying it late in the game when you have a sizable lead. It's like, what are you doing?
But then he runs for 80 yards. So it's like, how do you can't say, don't run the ball with him when he has 80 yards and a touchdown off 9 carries.
Here's Debo's last 5 games. 3 catches, 9 catches for 159 against the Titans. That was the big wide receiver game. Aside from that one game, he's had 3 catches for 63, 4 catches for 60, 1 catch for 22 yards, and 1 catch for 12 yards.
Oof.
That's crazy when you look at just his receiving numbers, how they've dropped off.
And he still has 1,300 yards.
Right. 16 games. Receiving yards because he was at 1,000 in the first 7-8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, he was on pace to set some records.
Right. Yeah. And what's crazy is Brandon Ayuk. I saw this stat today, and I kind of knew it, but didn't really register.
Flip-flopped.
Ayuk still hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game this year. He's had a couple in the 90s and a few in the 70s, but hasn't gone triple digits one time yet.
He doesn't get the targets.
Although that might change with Trey Lance. They've got a rapport, and Trey's not afraid to let him go get a ball, and we've seen that. So, and if
I'm good with that,
smart business decision by Brandon Ayuk to work with Trey Lance every chance he gets and get a little extra work, some extra throws in. Very smart. I'll give John Lynch credit. He drafted some smart dudes.
Versatile.
Trey Lance is smart. I bet Aaron Banks is smart, even though he's not playing much. Like, in all honesty, I bet that's what he like. He probably works hard and he's smart. They probably like that.
Solomon Thomas.
And it's done them. Yeah. Solomon Thomas. It's done them. Solomon Thomas, Stanford kid. He was in the same class. When you're a general manager and you shared a classroom with the guy, that guy's got to be pretty smart, right? Either that or, this wasn't Florida State. Sorry, apologies. That was a low blow to Florida.
There's probably people from Florida State listening right now that you just made really
Florida
mad.
State's a good university, but I don't think their athletes go through the same rigors that other law students or whoever are going through in most cases, at least not in the old days. I don't know. Florida State was just the first one that comes to mind that was, accused of doing stuff special for athletes in there. And
Good
they're great.
Buddy.
Yeah. Not Arkansas Monticello, right, Croc?
Nah.
What'd you major in?
Health education, kinesiology.
Okay. Putting it to use. Smart guy. See, that's why I recruited you guys for this podcast. Me and John Lynch have that in common. Only smart fellas. Only smart fellas joining this organization. All right. More to come, more of your Twitter questions as we head rapidly toward week 18 coming up. But how about this? The Get Upside app. It's an incredible app for anyone who wants to buy gas. And if you don't know about it, now you know. Go download the Get Upside app. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. All you got to do, super easy, download the free Get Upside app in the App Store, Google Play, wherever you find your apps. You go find that app right now, put it on your phone, look at the map, say, oh, I can get gas there. And guess what? I can get 25 cents back per gallon when I do go fill up. And I was going to fill up anyway. So it's easy money. It's free money. Go download the Get Upside app and use promo code touchdown to get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your very first fill up. So that's up to 50 cents cash back on your first fill up. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back by using Get Upside. And you can cash out anytime to your bank account, to PayPal, e-gift card. You want to give a gift to somebody with this extra cash you find, whatever you want, you can do it. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code touchdown to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's promo code touchdown with the Get Upside app. How about this one, fellas? From Adam. He says, if the Niners miss the playoffs, they can place the blame solely on their division record. Is there some sort of mental block against the Cardinals and Seahawks? They'll have trouble making the playoffs each year until they can find some ways to win those division games. And that's extra. I think with the Seahawks, especially because of how bad the Seahawks were this year, and the Niners can't beat that team.
They beat the Cardinals last year. Didn't they beat the Cardinals last year, like last game of the season? With CJ Beathard throwing like 10 passes?
Maybe that's because they got so used to playing in the Cardinals' house.
Yeah.
CJ Beathard. That seems like a million years ago that CJ Beathard was a quarterback for this football team. Yeah, I mean, you got to beat your division opponents. The stats for Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben Roethlisberger was awful last night. He barely complete a screen pass, right? Yet he dominates the Browns every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
You talk about that. It's Aaron Rodgers, too. Did you see his numbers over the last 2 years in the North? Like 38 touchdowns, no picks.
I saved it. I think it was 36 touchdowns. I don't have it anymore. 36 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against the NFC North over the last 2 years. Just pure domination. And that's what you want. That's how you have sustained success, is you can beat the people that know you best. And the 49ers have proven they can do that with the Rams for the most part, but have not really been able to do that at all with the Seahawks. And, Cardinals kind of been up and down, but lost both of those as well to the Cardinals this year. They only have one win in the division. That's the Rams. Can they make it 2? And they're going to have to against those Los Angeles Rams. I've heard this question bantied about. Who do you think the Rams want to face more? Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance? And who do you think the Rams want to face less out of the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Saints in the wild card round? First, the quarterbacks. I'll go to you, Croc. Do you think the Rams would rather face Jimmy Garoppolo or the Trey Lance 49ers?
Trey Lance.
Yeah, it's tough.
And that kind of contradicts what Chris Sims said the other day. He was like, they're just more dangerous with Trey Lance. But my thing is, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I believe that I can confuse the rookie and give him looks that he hasn't seen.
Right.
And in turn, that should fluster him. So I would assume I'd have and maybe put him in a position that he hasn't really been in. Hey, can we get up 10 points and make him feel like he has to win the game on his own? And he hasn't been in that type of environment, not just with the 49ers. I mean, not even at North Dakota State. I think in the one game against UCA, he kind of was in something like that. They were down heading into the fourth quarter. That was the first time ever. So, just get him in an unfamiliar position. I'd rather play that because of the unknown as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo, who has been in every type of situation and he is just knows how to handle it a little bit better. But also one thing real quick, my guy told me, Eric, you can't play it safe. All about taking risk and things like that. So, But again, if I'm the Rams, I would rather play Trey Lance if I'm the Rams.
It kind of depends what they see on tape, because one of the big thing about being a quarterback in the NFL is adjusting to the adjustments, and there's not much tape on Trey Lance. So once teams get a book, maybe they'll find that thing that they think they can take away from Lance and make it difficult. But at the same time, I wonder if you're the coordinator for the Rams, it might be more difficult to game plan for Trey Lance, whereas you think you can just straight up go head to head with Jimmy G and beat him, and you know what the game plan is going to be.
Yeah, so many question marks with Lance. Yeah, you know what you're going to get with Jimmy G. You mentioned film. You've got so much film on Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy beat you a lot. But at the same time, if you're the defensive coordinator, you're thinking, nah, this is the time. Like, I know how to stop this guy. They've already faced him once this year. You know, I think that they probably would want to face Jimmy.
Yeah, and also with Trey Lance, you don't know, are the 49ers going to continue to add to his plate and add more? So what you saw last week, they're able to add a little bit more to that, and you really have no idea how they're going to attack you. So there is that element of it, but still, I feel like I could rattle a rookie more so than a vet if I'm the defensive coordinator.
And they don't want to play the Niners in the playoffs.
There's that play where Trey Lance, early in the game, it was, I'm trying to think of what the play was. I think it was just a regular old zone read, and Trey bolted left, and Justin Reed was just a missile from the secondary in, and then there was the other strong safety there too, and they made a tackle on Trey Lance, and he kind of tried to truck stick through it, and they stopped him right behind the line of scrimmage, or basically for no gain or whatever. But watching that, and teams are going to be focusing on Trey Lance, the first thing I thought of watching that was they're selling out against Trey Lance right there. If he keeps it, and Deebo Samuel just fakes like he's going to block and takes off, I mean, that's 6 easy. So there's a lot of things that Kyle Shanahan could watch on film of his own team and realize what he could play off of, maybe what he's showing teams now, and then do something off that the following week. So that'll be a fun chess match, because there's just so much more you can do with Trey Lance. So that's a really interesting question. What about the other part of that? I mean, I think it's pretty clear that if you're the Rams, you would much rather be playing the Eagles or the Saints than the 49ers.
We mentioned all that division stuff. Yeah, you may feel comfortable that you know the Niners well, but the Niners beat you. So yeah, I think they would want to play probably the Saints, if anyone, just based on their quarterback play.
Yeah, I probably the Eagles have a really good offensive line, and they've gotten pretty good defensive line play as well. But the Eagles don't scare me at all. The Saints just have a really good defense, but on offense, lacking. And even Kamara hasn't done much since he came back from injury recently. And their quarterback situation is the worst of the 3 teams. So I would much rather play the Saints or the Eagles than the 49ers. I'd probably rather play I'd probably rather play the Saints right now because of the quarterback.
If you're the Rams?
If you're the Rams, yeah.
If you're anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Taysom Hill is stinky.
Yeah.
Smell. He's a smelly.
What's that smell? Oh, it's Taysom.
Did you see that ball he threw? Like,
he's not.
I mean, he just. Yeah. Okay. There it is. He's the. He reminds me of the kid DJ Aguglier from Clemson, where DJ, you know,
Sean Watson. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he replaced Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, yes.
So big kid, strong arm, and it's like, all right, you're the biggest kid on the playground. You got the strongest arm. Let's make you a quarterback, but you're not really a quarterback. Now, maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll turn into one. We'll see. But that's how it looks like when he's playing. That's like Taysom Hill, where it's like you have a solid arm. You are the most athletic kid on the playground. Let's make you throw the ball a lot, you know, and that's what it looks like. He's just out there kind of just throwing the ball, but I don't know. There isn't anything. It doesn't even look like a quarterback.
Yeah.
I remember people talk about Trey Lance throwing wobbly balls. I remember there was one where Taysom Hill loaded up and threw a ball and it like quacked. I mean, it was like, get your shotguns
like end
out.
Over end.
Yeah. Don't do that in Arkansas. They would have definitely pulled their shotguns. Poof, poof. They're shooting at that thing because it was flapping. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's bad. So 49ers in a pretty good spot, but they've got a tough opponent coming up in the Los Angeles Rams in Week 18. We'll talk more about that matchup with the LA Rams. Wink, I want to thank you, as always, for jumping on this podcast with Croc and I.
Yeah, my pleasure. Real quick, do you mind if I bring a little story in?
Oh, I would love to hear your story, yes.
Yeah, so Oblong Ball's a fantasy league that you were a part of that's been around for 22 years that I've won once.
That I did not perform well in at all this year, so you don't need
I wasn't going to bring that up.
On that. Okay.
I was going to let you slide. You had some injuries early on.
I had a bad fantasy year.
Derailed your season.
Yeah, I got derailed in that one, but I just had a really bad.
He took 10th place with Jonathan Taylor. That tells you how bad. Yeah.
Oh, that's how bad the rest
tells you how bad your year was. Yeah.
I just sat everybody else and played him. It was a bad situation. My draft I was screwing around on draft day too, which, whatever.
That was because of me. I gave everybody free drinks.
Free margaritas. I had fun at the draft, but I had a bad team aside from Jonathan Taylor and Raheem Mostert lasting 2 carries doesn't help. But I had a bad
Sunday night.
But I just want to throw that out there because I give some fantasy advice sometimes, and I think it's good advice. But maybe I should stop giving fantasy advice with as bad as my leagues were this year. I was in one championship game and lost that too because of Ben Roethlisberger's 7 points somehow beat my team in the championship. 2 quarterbacks.
So anyways, Sunday night, I thought I'd lost, right? So Aaron Jones is my guy. He's getting the ball all first half. He barely touches it in the second half. And I thought I lost by 2.5 points. Well, Monday comes around. I'm just, I'm like, whatever, but then stat corrections come around Tuesday night or Tuesday morning. And the guy was playing had the Buffalo defense who lost 3 points in the stat corrections. And I had lost by 2.5. So I became the champion on a stat correction. I know. I woke up this morning to text of like, wait, did Week win? I'm just like, what? So I opened my Yahoo and it's got the celebration. You won. Congratulations. Like, because I was bummed, man. I was so bummed. I won one time in 22 years. Like, I thought I had it. Oh, man. And then, what a roller coaster ride.
I've seen so many.
You know what's worse than that? I have put some money on the second half of the Steelers game last night. I just, these quarterbacks, they can't move the ball. They're not scoring points. It's terrible. In the second half, over under was like 30.5. I said, money.
Easy.
Let me go put some money on that. Right. I didn't bet any other money on that game, but I saw that. Let me throw some money on that. I was good. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, with no time left,
garbage.
Najee Harris breaks the tackle and runs. And I'm in my bed, like my wife is asleep next to me, and I'm like, fall down. He runs into the end zone. I'm like, you idiot! You're not supposed to score. Oh, no. And I think a lot of people lost their championships on that as well.
That was a big.
There were a lot of people. Responded to my tweet about this, that they also were affected by that Buffalo stat correction, which is wild.
Wow.
It's crazy because you see that happen a lot on Monday Night Football. Some late, I remember there was a Deshaun Jackson punt return late in the game, like a decade ago when he was with the Eagles, that helped me win a big game. Like you see that a lot on Monday Night Football, where someone's counting their money already, and something happens in a game late in the game, and it flips stuff for fantasy football. But the next day stat correction, that one's crazy. Did they lose credit for a sack or what was that?
It was the safety that happened early in the game. And so it counted as like a fumble, and it changed the point total for the defense. So they went to like the next bracket where they dropped down points. Yeah, it was wild.
I still don't understand what happened there.
Now, what's the worst too is this manager a couple of years ago when Dalvin Cook got hurt late in the season, he had a lead in the playoff game by like 1 point, and Dalvin Cook got hurt and fumbled on that play. So it took him down, and he lost that way too. That's when you stop playing fantasy football, right?
Yeah, there's those games where you have only the kicker to go, and you already won, and the other guy played everybody already, your opponent, so you haven't won. It's like, do you?
And he misses.
Moral conundrum. Do you just sit your player and take him out of the lineup so that way? Yeah, that's the smart thing.
But what if then the stat correction happens though?
Sportsmanship. Maybe you don't want to do that, so you play him, and then if he only has one attempt and misses it, and you lose because of that. Yeah. Fantasy football sucks.
It does. Except when you're the champion.
Except for when you're the champ, like Bay Area Wink, at Bay Area Wink on Twitter. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every day right here. And we'll be back tomorrow. Locked On 49ers.
See ya.